Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. This is Coach King. Today, we're going to be talking about fear versus faith in decision making. So what controls your next step? Every major decision in life eventually comes down to one single battle. We've all had this battle within the inside of us. We all had this battle within inside of our minds, more specifically. And this battle is choosing to fear or faith. And it's not your intellect. It's not your wit. It's not even your talent. It's not your resources. It's not the things that you have. It's not the materials that you can grab. It's not your senses at all. And these things tend to ask specific questions to you. Fear will ask you, what if I fail? But on the other end, your faith goes, what if God is calling me to do this? And these are these difficult parts and paths that we must choose to take. Both fear and faith can exist in the exact same moment. We've all experienced this. You've had faith on one side, fear on the other. Remember those little commercials where you had the angel and the devil on one side? It seems like we have to choose between which direction we're going to go. We can pray and still feel that we're uncertain. You can hear God and still be nervous. You can know the right direction and still avoid or hesitate it. You got to understand that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is movement despite what you feel. So let's anchor this in scripture. We're going to go to Hebrews 11. Yes, the faith verse, right? Now faith is the confidence in what we hope for and the assurance about what we do not see. That's paraphrased. That's Hebrews 11:1. Okay? Hebrews 11:1. Faith is not certainty. Faith is trust. Okay? Faith is trust. So we got to trust in the Lord with all our heart, lean not unto our own understanding, but in all our ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. That means faith operates in environments where clarity is not always known. It's incomplete. So the clarity that we're looking for, the alignment that it brings it's not whole yet. So faith operates in that environment when you don't know, when you first become aware, right? If you could already see what's going to happen to you, you wouldn't need the faith. Okay? You wouldn't need the faith. So fear demands visible guarantees. So we only demand what we can see because we fear. Okay? But faith moves from a spiritual conviction, not a knowing yet. Not a knowing, but a conviction. There's something that says, you know what? I need to do this. This is how it's got to be, right? You got to think about it. When Peter stepped into the water, was that a logical situation? Was Noah building an ark before the rain a popular decision? Was Abraham leaving his entire family without knowing where to go? Was he comfortable doing that? No. Faith consistently requires us to move before we understand. And that's why fear fights us so hard, so aggressively, right? It floods in. It comes at us. We often fear because when we move, we don't know where we're going. We're going somewhere, and we're going there in faith. Okay. So let's understand fear. Fear sometimes is not always irrational. Okay. Sometimes fear is simply the mind trying to protect itself from uncertainty. We have this built-in innate system that immunes us to change. It makes us resist it. Our bodies protect ourselves from environments that are unknown and foreign. We're built that way. The construct. We have one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake because we're like, ooh, what's happening? So we brace ourselves. That bracing protects us from harm. So we have to overcome this feeling that something is going to harm us. And that is our mind trying to protect ourselves from the harm that we think, that the perceived harm from the uncertainty that it brings. So once we bust through that, you got to understand that the problem is not unaware of danger. The problem is allowing fear to become the ultimate decision maker. When we let fear operate in us, when we let fear become the decision for us, it becomes our language. So we begin to speak things that are fearful. We begin to say, just stay here. It's comfortable. Just stay here. It's safe. Don't risk that. Don't buy that stock. No, don't say anything right now. Don't even start the business. Don't start the book. Don't trust her. Don't trust him. Don't try again. Don't move. Right? So fear creates this paralysis through overanalysis. We begin to overthink things, right? Paralysis by analysis. And many people confuse hesitation with wisdom. But you got to understand that prolonged hesitation often becomes this word called avoidance. But you got to understand something. Inside the idea of change, innovation, development, education, and administration, there is an explanation for this tension that happens so clear. Because when fear whispers, what if you fail? Faith should respond. It says, what if this is what I was created for? You reframe the fear. And simply, friends, that is the battle. We do it every day in every decision we make. Not simply success versus failure. Because you can have success and versus failure, and we could talk about the opposite differences. But see, let's go deeper than that. The true battle is my obedience versus my avoidance. Because the fear that I have, it keeps me evaluating all the outcomes and possibilities forever. I can sit there and evaluate, if I do this, this will happen. If I do this, this will happen, right? And I never move. Faith has to step in so that I can make the decision. Okay? So when you become aware, fear disguises itself. Fear never really announces itself openly. It disguises itself as, I'm just waiting. I'm just going to sit here for a second. Give me a second. No, you're fearful, which happens, right? I need a little bit more time to think about that. Maybe later. I'm just still thinking. Oh, let me be realistic about this. Sometimes wisdom does not require you to wait. Okay? But sometimes fear uses this thing called delay to prevent your transformation. Don't let fear step in and prevent you from transforming into the person you're trying to become. Look at the perfect example, and this is the one I always use. Jonah. God gave Jonah the direction, but Jonah resisted the movement. He said, I ain't going over there to speak to the people in Nineveh. No, absolutely not. I don't like them. They don't like me. I ain't going over there. These are low-class citizens. I am a Hebrew. We ain't going over there. Nope. I'm not doing it. No, no, no. And that's because he feared their freedom. He didn't want them to be saved. He wanted them all to die. He wanted he wanted the punishment that was going to be bestowed upon them to happen to them. Good riddance. They deserve it. And God was like, no, man, go over there and tell them what's getting ready to happen. I ain't doing it. And it's not because he didn't lack the understanding. He knew. It's because he feared what obedience would require and ultimately the outcomes. And so in the message, fear often keeps us in unhealthy environments. So he had to go through a whale's body. He had to go through a boat, like places that were uncomfortable. It keeps in stagnant leadership, still waters. Not just still waters, but like water that is like nasty swamp water, right? Stagnant leadership, broken cycles. The more he ran, the more the ship was tormented. The people that didn't even believe in a God was like, whoa, who's cursed us on this boat, right? A broken cycle, misaligned relationships. Who is cursed? Let's take lots and draw straws. Whoever has the short one, that's the person, right? And careers they've spiritually outgrown. You stay small. God's calling you to the next level. He's calling you to become the manager. He's calling you to become the director. If you're the manager, if you're the director, he's calling you to senior leadership. If you're in senior leadership, calling you to officers, right? Take the next level. If you have spiritually outgrown that environment, go to the next level in faith. Let your faith speak. I am this. Why? Because the uncertainty feels dangerous. But hear this carefully. Understand this. Remaining somewhere out of fear is not peace. It's imprisonment disguised as stability. Remaining somewhere out of fear is not peace. It's imprisonment disguised as stability. That is the subtle shift that should happen in your mind. I'm remaining somewhere and I have this false sense of peace in my life. But really, the false sense of peace in this year is disguised as my instability. It's disguised as stability, but really it's unstable ground. This is a place where I will die. And I refuse to die with more in me and being called to a greater purpose, a greater calling, a place where I am spiritually more than where I'm operating. I need to be in a place that will stretch and challenge me. If it's not challenging me, then that means that system or cycle has become broken. I need to go to the next level. Faith thrives where certainty ends. Faith thrives where my certainty ends. That means that your uncertainty is not your enemy. It's an aspect of change. And uncertainty is where you actually will grow your faith the strongest. So go into those uncertain and uncomfortable places. So how does faith and fear impact your leadership? Leaders make decisions under pressure constantly. As leaders, we have to make these decisions. It impacts so many lives, but it also gives us direction when we feel like we are surrounded by circumstance. Pressure reveals what our spirit is operating. Pressure reveals what the spirit is operating. What spirit am I going into the situation with? Pressure in our lives will bring out what's in the inside so we can recognize what is leading. Is it angry? Is it peace? Is it love? Is it joy? Is it contempt? Fear-based leadership always avoids your conversations. I'm having that conversation. It protects comfort over the truth, and it delays what needs to happen, which is called the necessary actions or the plans that we have to put in place. And we're fearful, we micromanage outcomes, and we seek somebody else's validation over the alignment of our visions, over the alignment of the vision God gave you. However, on the other end, a faith-based leadership approach, it moves with the conviction on the inside, this needs to change. And it accepts the responsibility. I'm going to shoulder this weight. I'm going to bear my cross to this burden. I'm going to take it on. I'm going to accept this. I'm not going to ask him to remove this from me, but I'm going to walk in my fullness and purpose. It communicates things clearly, and it acts despite the fear and uncertainty that we feel. Ultimately, a faith-based leadership trusts God with the outcome. I may not know what's going to come of this, but Lord, you gave it to me, so I'm going to walk this thing forward. I may not know what's going to happen, but I know that you are guiding my footsteps. Faith does not mean that you have to just willy-nilly be reckless, a reckless faith. Doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean don't take calculated risks or plan it out. Faith means seek the wisdom, evaluate what's happening, and prepare yourself. But you got to do one thing that fear will keep you from doing, and that's moving. Nehemiah rebuilt walls while he was under attack and threat. He went out in faith and saw the vision, and he began to build the walls when the threat was near. He kept going. He didn't let that stop him. David faced Goliath while everyone else froze. What can we do with this giant? He's bigger than us. He carries a iron cast sword, and he's just making threats for 40 days, and we don't know what to do with him, because if we go out there, he will surely kill us. But David went out and said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? Esther approached the king, knowing it could cost her her life. So you have to move. Faith does not move just simply or remove the pressure that you feel. It transforms your response to the pressure. So let's talk about the decision-making process. The idea cycle helps you understand that this is spirituality and practicality. It's a spiritual thing. It's a thing that's inside. It's your spirit. Your spirit. Okay? This is a supernatural feeling. This is not something you can see. It's a faith thing. But it's also practical, which means it's real. There are steps to it. It's pragmatic and there is a system practical, right? So your innovation is going to say, can I see beyond the fear? Fear sees obstacles. Innovation sees what's possible. So you have to think, can I see beyond what I'm faced here? What's possible in this moment? In your development, we'll ask, can I grow through this uncertainty that I'm feeling? Can I go through this? Can I grow through this uncertainty? Because growth always requires you to get uncomfortable, right? There's going to be a level of discomfort with the growth. Definitely during uncertainty. When you're uncertain, that's like sitting on the fence. It's being lukewarm. For you church folks, I'm lukewarm. I'm indifferent, right? That's a moment that you can grow. So stop being indifferent, and get uncomfortable. Do something. Not something reckless, but do something. Okay? And to grow inside that, you have to do something uncomfortable. Stretch yourself a little bit. Take on a little new tasks. Do something different. Okay? Education says and asks, what truth should guide this decision that I'm making, right? Not emotions, not out of the panic, but what truth? So for me, education, I say, all right, I'm going to go to a scripture. This is just me. I'm going to go to the scripture and see where my uncertainty falls. I'm going to take it back to my foundation so that I can find the answer. I'm going to let the Bible guide me. Okay? That's me. Most people will go to some type of resources and find some facts, right? If you're in an organization, find a fact that'll help you make and guide you through the right decision, right? Administration will ask, how do I steward the decision responsibly? Because remember, whatever task or what you're trying to change, a lot of times, if you're a leader, you're being entrusted to make the decision. So you have to steward the decision responsibly. Remember, faith is not the chaos. You're sometimes put in the middle of a chaotic situation to activate your faith, because your faith brings structure, stewardship, and discipline to the chaos. So you have to ask, how do I steward this responsibly? Okay? The goal is not to use your emotional impulse. It is to understand what emotion you feel and seek the truth based on the emotion that you're feeling. Your emotions are a signal as to what you are fighting. And the goal, once you found that, the goal is alignment. Alignment with what, Mike? Alignment with the direction and the intention and the purpose that God has called you to in this moment. So what does that require? For me, that requires me to be in alignment with God first. The Bible says, seek ye first the kingdom of heaven and his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added unto you. What are these things? The direction that you need to take. Because fear-centered decisions give you that perceived comfort, right? Faith-centered decisions perceive purpose. Okay? But faith-centered decisions also preserve your purpose in this moment. So let's make some rules. Okay, here's a powerful question you need to ask yourself. Is this decision protecting my calling or protecting my comfort? Is the decision I'm making me more comfortable, or is it really taking me in the direction that God has for me? Am I even getting to the goal, right? Am I even going to get there? Or is it time for me to sit back and just relax? This question will expose everything. You know why? Because sometimes your faith says stay. Sometimes your faith says move. Sometimes your faith says wait. And sometimes your faith says build. But there's one constant. And I don't want you to get confused, because sometimes your faith is like, no, you're in the right place. Because you're uncomfortable and you're looking for a way out of being uncomfortable. So you got to get comfortable being uncomfortable. So you have to stay in there. Right? You got to hang in there. This bad marriage, we're arguing every single day about a topic we can't get ourselves out of. My boss and I, we don't see eye to eye. I'm just going to leave. I'm quitting. Okay? That's different. Okay? That's what I mean. Stagnation is meaning you're sitting there and you're twiddling your thumbs. You know you need to move, but you just want to stay. That's different. Okay? Sometimes faith does say wait. It's like when you're dealing with you need to be patient on something, right? Just hold on, just wait. Where there's a knowing or unction of an expectation, but you saying, hey, it's not quite time yet. I need to build something during this time. That's you having to know that. Shorten your time by understanding the emotion. But there's one constant that fear always will have you do, and that's nothing. Fear. My dad always told me, he said, to do nothing is to ensure nothing. And that's fear. Fear will always tell you that. And doing nothing is a decision itself, which is powerful. Nothing. Many people pray for clarity while ignoring the conviction they already have. The conviction, I need to change this. Something's got to change. Faith often then sounds quiet. If fear is usually screaming, "Ah!" Right? When you scare somebody, what do they do? "Ah!" They're scared. Faith moves in silence most of the time. You just get up and move. I don't think Abraham said anything. He just said, honey, pack your things. Follow me. We have to go. Go where, Abraham? I really don't know, but we can't stay here. Faith. The spirit leads, but fear pressures. Hopefully you're seeing that you have to fight your fear. And how do you fight your fears? With your faith. Okay? Because uncertainty is a powerful, powerful, powerful thing that we're built to fight the change that we're intentionally trying to place into this world, into our own situations. And to get out of circumstances, you have to change something. So you experience uncertainty first. This week, I'm going to write down one decision I've been avoiding. And I encourage whoever's listening to do the same thing, okay? Answer these questions as honest as you can. And the first question is, what am I afraid of? What is my fear? Like, really, take some time. If it takes you all week to think of it, I pray that it becomes apparent to you what your fear, what are you afraid of? Next question you want to ask yourself is, what outcome am I trying to control? Like, what is the end result? Am I trying to keep my hands on? Am I holding on to this outcome too hard? Okay. The next one is, what would faith look like here? What does my faith look like? So think of, if you want to change the word faith, what are some possibilities if I were to make this decision? What are the possibilities that will happen if I make this decision? Now, be careful when you look at the possibilities that you try not to predicate them and try to control them. Okay? These are desired outcomes. What is this desired outcome? Okay? Which action aligns with God's direction instead of my own comfort? What does God want for me? Pray about that. Pray about it. Pray about it. Pray about it. Talk to God. God, I pray that whoever's listening right now and is looking at these action items, if their faith was activated, I pray for you right now that you find what you're supposed to find and discover the direction that God is taking you based on these answers. And it's not for fear to be disappearing, right? I'm not praying your fear away. That's your signal. That's how you know. I want the fear to happen, because the fear is the signal. It gives you where you are in change. Are you uncertain? Are you adaptability? Are you adapting to what's happening? It tells you where you're at. But I pray for your courage to move in the correct direction. I pray for your trust to be built in God. Okay? Because courage is not emotional certainty. It says, be bold and courageous and know that I am with you wherever you go. Joshua 1:9. And I paraphrase that. It's actually behind me. It's on the wall. Okay. Be strong and courageous. It's not emotional certainty. It's a faith verse. Okay. You have to know. Emotional certainty is not necessarily knowing. They're two different things. Emotional certainty are the tasks that are habitually that you just do, right? A knowing still requires faith, but it's more of an expectation that God is going to do exactly what he said he's going to do. Okay. You have to know that you have to expect God to be there and show up, right? Because he's an on-time God. Oh, yes, he is. Okay. It is the obedience under your uncertainty. So still move out of obedience to God. Worship him. Okay. That is your reasonable service. So as we wrap this up, I want you to remember that fear will always present as questions. Fear will always present itself as a subtlety in your life. It'll disguise itself as being comfortable. It'll disguise itself as peace. Okay. But faith will always answer with trust. Okay. So your future has never belonged to people who've never felt fear. Your future has never belonged to people who never felt fear. The future. So anything that people have intended to do has never happened without some uncertainty. They've always felt these fears. They've always had these thoughts. These are questions that run through our head or try to. Your future belongs to movement. People who moved despite the fear. The future, the uncertainty that you feel, people have always trusted God enough to obey before seeing everything clearly. Because faith is not blind optimism. It's not blind. It's confidence in the character of God. And when fear is no longer in control of your decision, purpose begins to take form. You begin to see exactly where you're supposed to go. And that, my friend, is the decision that you need to make. Okay? Remember, make real change, make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. This is Coach King. Peace out.